have no life, first of all. If I didn't practice, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. We are in the Berkshires, close to Tanglewood, where I have been working every summer for about 35 years now. The last concert that I was involved in was a weekend of trio concerts with Leonidas Kavakos and Yo-Yo. We played on the 8th of March at Carnegie Hall, and for us and for Carnegie, that was the last event since March 8th, 2020. So we thought we would drive up here, I guess on a Thursday after that Sunday concert. Well, I've got a couple of days free, and we never left. What I did was learn some music that I hadn't learned before, mainly some late Chopin and some Bach, because I'd played so little Bach in my life. It's one of my great failings. To this day, I feel guilt and a lack of real ability because of not playing enough Bach. Chopin he really, I think, liked two composers. He liked Mozart and he liked Bach. And when he went to Mallorca with George Sand and wrote the preludes, he only took one piece of printed music with him, and that was the Well-Tempered Clavier. So he was very, very much connected to Bach, I think. As his life went on, I think the music became maybe more polyphonic even than it had been. If you look especially at the Opus 56 mazurkas, they become very thorny. This one. Always something going on. But that's also true of this Opus 50. And equally true of... So that's Opus 30. I wanted to do everything from Opus 51 on. Yes, I learned the Opus 50 mazurkas last year. Not that there's necessarily any special meaning to 50 on. I know so few pianists that haven't had Chopin as a major part of their life.
Now then we get to the Opus 60s of Chopin, and there's three profound works, and really we're reaching a level of transcendence that maybe, okay, let's not judge, they're all great, but the Barcarolle, the Polonaise Fantasy.
And the two nocturnes, of course, are miraculous. And the cello sonata, which I had played so often with Yo-Yo. It's interesting because the first movement is, I think, almost unplayable. I actually, even for the recording, I left out a couple of notes in the first movement.
Do you know which ones?
Yes, there was a B flat and
a
G.
That's those, yeah. That B flat's very hard.
But I was interested to find out from my friend Stephen Isserlis, the cellist, who's a big scholar. He knows everything. And he said at his last concert, public concert, Chopin played the cello sonata with Auguste Franchomme, but only the last three movements. Yo-Yo and I have been playing together, we figured out, for 47 years. And I think we've played pretty much the complete standard repertoire. So we actually made a record of the sonata and the trio. I guess because Yo-Yo and I became friends so early.
Which was?
It would have been, 1968.
You've said before that you're always playing chamber music, even when you're playing solo.
Sure.
You're thinking of the times you've played the cello sonata with Yo-Yo, and maybe not the Opus 55 number 2. We had been discussing that maybe the left hand, but
just something like that. When you just look at that, in fact, the bass part of that is more complicated than anything the cello has to play in the cello sonata. So. It's endless, You know, this incredible range and the constant appoggiatura and release. It's amazing.
Do you feel like the left hand in that piece is aware of the sort of two lovers singing their song? Do you know what I mean? It's almost as if it's independent.
Yeah. I think this is really an example of, you could almost play the right hand as a tune by itself, and the left hand as, in a way, an improvisation by itself.
We're back to Bach, because that's what Bach's music is like.
Quite possible, yeah.
And there's another, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but similar texture to the opening theme after the introduction of the Barcarolle, almost a cello-like theme, and then two lovers in the gondola.
What's intriguing there also at the very opening, the first, the 5 chord that will lead, everything is. At the same time, you have in the right hand this kind of tune. But while you hear that tune, what the bottom voice is doing is. So it's descending along with this. I probably can't play it at the same time, but you know, they're both descending this way.
If you're in the right mood,
how he makes that work, I have no idea.
It's a miracle. If you're in the right mood, would you be performing it and say, maybe today a little more of that inner voice?
You could, of course you could, and then comes the whole issue of what do you emphasize when? I mean, this is just harmonic changes, like in this. Do you go? Do you go there and then? You know, or of course you could do the exact opposite.
Back off sooner.
Yeah, well, back off of here. And then make the crescendo to that. So,
do you practice in a way that leaves open the possibility for that spontaneous decision?
I think ideally you try many ways, especially in music like this, because first of all, I never know what's right. I am wrong in hundreds of ways about pieces. I'm very rarely right about anything.
Well, in that sense, every interpretation is wrong.
I suppose I'm usually more wrong than others, though. I'm really
okay. Well, if everyone's wrong, then everyone's also right too. It's the distinction isn't quite there.
Yeah. I guess it's a matter of what sounds right at the time, I guess, and that's what I get very. Yo-Yo gets annoyed with me because he often, when he's tired, especially, he says, "No, we have to do it this way." And I say, "Yeah, we could do it this way." "No, we have to do it this way." "Sure, fine. You know,
if there just were one way, I don't think we'd have lifelong careers in music. We need many ways.
And actually, there's a good German word for practice or rehearsal, which is Probe, to try. So you have to try, and we do wind up, especially when you play with other people, you're always trying things so that you have a palette of possibilities.
Right.
Sure.
First time in 40, 50 years you didn't have a constant international tour going, and maybe
that's felt, from a selfish point of view, felt very good. To be home, to be with my wife, to not get nervous 3 times a week is wonderful. Because I get nervous when I play. And it's been a tremendous relief not to do that all the time. This whole year has been an illustration of how fortunate my family and I have been. We haven't gotten sick. I've been able to sit and play the piano and maybe give a few people pleasure, over the year. You wish you could do more and not just be a musician. Maybe be a first aid worker or so you could really do something more.
You feel the limitations of music in a way at times like this.
I think so. When it comes to disease, when it comes to tragedy, but I think we do what we can do. Yo-Yo has been such a miraculous help psychologically to, I think, so many people over the year. Doing these videos and playing these songs of comfort that I've done a few of them with him, and he's been amazing. I tried to volunteer a bit to play for some hospitals. If they needed music for patients, I would take a couple of hours and just play music, and they would put an iPhone next to somebody. Yo-Yo and I did some pop-up concerts on the back of a truck. That was interesting. There's a wonderful man here who moves pianos for Tanglewood. And I asked him whether there was any place that he and I could do something. And he said, listen, I have a big truck. We can put a clavinova on top of the truck. And the truck drove around to 9 or 10 places, and we played sort of 20-minute concerts in parking lots.